Welcome to Inspector Josh Investigates TV. I'm Josh Paulison, a story coach obsessed with making better stories faster. And today, we have a guest, Joey Naden. How's it going, Joey?
Good, how are you?
Doing really well. So what are we looking at today?
Today we're looking at a Danish show on Netflix called The Rain, and we're looking at the first episode titled Stay Inside. So warning, there are spoilers for this episode ahead.
Joey Naden is a storyteller and actor who just graduated from Compass Academy with his BFA in film. He's worked in music, video, and commercials. And we're going to work together to talk about this really cool lesson that we discovered together looking at this episode. And Joey, I'd like you to start us off and talk about it. Okay,
so we came up with this thing called the TOE method, basically as a way to demonstrate character traits and finding ways to give our characters opportunities to express them. So it goes finding a trait, giving them an opportunity, and then expression. So we find that that's important because it's a good tool for us to be able to figure out our characters and to be able to display them to the people that we have viewing our story as well.
So how is it displayed in this episode of The Rain?
So the reason why I really like this episode and the show in general is because they have really good character development. One of the ways they do that is through this similar format. So we have an example between these main two characters, a brother and a sister, where we have a trait within a character, Simone, and she's a very nurturing person, and she has to take care of her brother. And so when we're writing, we want to be able to find ways that we can see these traits within our character. So what these writers did is they gave us an opportunity to see that happen within her character by having her brother grow peach fuzz. And it's a small instance, but she starts shaving him, like his face for him. And you know, it seems kind of weird as a viewer, but at the same time, it gives us an opportunity not only to see their relationship, but to see this trait within Simone. So Simone is a nurturing person. She's forced into a nurturing role if you watch the show. And this opportunity given to her allows this expression. So it allows her to express this trait, thus making her character feel more rounded. It helps us understand her motivations for things farther down in the show when you see this trait in her. Yeah.
That's really cool. So I know we were talking about a few other ways as well, like Rasmus's anger and kind of pieces with that.
So Rasmus is a really interesting character because of the way that they introduce his character in the second half of this opening episode. And so we see him as kind of an angry character because he's been abandoned by his parents. And all he has is his sister. She really only has him. And so she, being a nurturing person, has always kind of ignored truth to protect him. And he's sick of that, really. So we see this trait within him that he's angry. He's trying to build up a defensive wall by, these shots. You see him working out. It builds this idea in your head that, okay, he's going to be a tough character. And so it kind of gives you that trait. He's angry about something. And then we see him in that scene, the same scene where we see her being nurturing. We see him with his anger and his resentment towards her for lying. So now we take that trait and we give it an opportunity. He confronts her and she, in a sense, minimizes his feelings and his experience, therefore giving him that expression of punching the mirror. So that's kind of the way that he expresses his trait of anger. But one of the important things about this method, too, is that it also allows us to express traits that can counter these traits that we see before. So it sets up this idea for this character that he's angry and he's resentful. But there's also this trait that he holds where he's a very compassionate character, especially when it comes to his sister. And so later in that episode, we get to see that trait because they give him the opportunity when Simone finally decides to be vulnerable to him and honest. It gives him that opportunity to express his compassion and his love for Simone by telling her, that she's not in this alone and that they can take care of each other now. Kind of going from a dependent relationship to an interdependent relationship. And so it's just one of those ways that you can see this method in how you build a character, but also progress a story.
So one of the ways that we could use this in our own stories is, let's say that Bob is a really angry person. So that's his trait, the T in tow. And then next, we need some sort of opportunity. So let's say that Sally cuts him off in traffic. There, that's our opportunity. Then Bob has to express this emotion, and he definitely will. So he could yell at her and give her the finger. That's us running through that tow method with wanting to show just how angry Bob is. Because, you know, when you have a trait, there's really, that can mean different things. Anger could be he kicks the dog. Anger could be he screams at people. Anger could be just a silent seething thing. So when you actually show the trait, then that really helps communicate it about the character and really shows the shades of it.
And depending on the trait, too, you could take one scenario multiple different ways. Yeah. Because if we replace Bob is angry with Bob is apologetic, and let's say Sally, rear ends him or something. Yeah. Now, if he's an apologetic person as opposed to being an angry person, we could see that play out in different ways. Yeah. So maybe that gives him an opportunity to express being apologetic, even if it's, that's just a character thing for him. If it's not his fault, but he feels bad. Or if he's angry, he goes out and he yells at her. So depending on the trait, you can take a scenario multiple different ways and say so many different things about your character.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. Yeah, so I'd say with that, just could you run us through the TOE method again? Just what TOE stands for?
Yeah, so TOE. We have T for trait, O for opportunity, and E for expression.
And with that, I'd say it's safe to say...
Case closed, you see?
Thanks so much for listening, guys. Where can we reach you, Joey?
jnadenvideo.weebly.com or my Instagram, joey.naden. Probably the best ways to find me.
All right, sweet. You can find me at joshpaulson.com, where you can also sign up for a newsletter in order to get notes from the podcast episodes. Thanks for joining us, Joey.
No problem. It was fun.